question, Chair. Yes, I want to follow up then and ask, so what studies, if no studies were done, what made us in the first place announce it? What's the snowball that's growing? Where did that start from then? Was there a study and they found out that there was a culprit was fluoride, or were we just going through the alphabet? Oh, we're at the F's now, so we're going to study. Really?
I think it's more of a, it's like how these things happen. Quite frankly, my personal feeling is that it's increased educational levels in women. Women tend to be the ones that do most of the child care. And so when you have more information, because your education level is higher and you can feed yourself the information that you need to solve the particular problems that you're faced with at the time, as opposed to just rely on somebody with a white coat and an MD who doesn't know you, doesn't particularly care about you, says, well, just do this, trust me. Perhaps it's a reflection of my generation. I don't tend to trust authority figures without good reason. I'm a literate person. Please show me the study where you did toxicology studies and you showed me anything that said, actually, no, if you expose a developing fetus to this level of fluoride, that it's safe and there's no long-term, it's going to take a long time to do that study, I agree, but I want to see a good chunk of science done. And it's never been done. And I have to point out, with respect to my colleague who presented here, the Dorval observation was never peer-reviewed. We would all love to see that study, but it was never peer-reviewed. And if they tried to pass it as a peer-reviewed study, it was brought up in a conference, and it was submitted as proceedings. It got some media traction, and off it went. So if they tried to write it up and submit it for peer review, it would not have passed. And if, going back, and they say, okay, yes, we still really stand by that, then they should have gone back and tried to submit it for peer review. But if nobody believed it enough to try to submit it to peer review because they know that they would be severely laughed at by their peers, then I'm not sure we should be placing too much faith in that. And the other thing you have to consider, with respect to tooth decay and just general health outcomes, it's often said that environment, or genetics loads the gun, environment pulls the trigger. Now, this also includes the emotional environment, because we know that when children especially are stressed out, this ups their levels of oxidative stress. They get stressed and a whole bunch of things go wrong all at the same time. During the period of 2002 to 2003 that they mentioned in Dorval, Quebec, was a very stressful time for children because the two major employers in that town, Air Canada and Bombardier, Air Canada was going through a major restructuring. It's a union town. Lots of things got renegotiated. Dental benefits would have been one of them. People have been worried about their jobs. And the other one, Bombardier, got, they offshored to Mexico.
We're getting into your opinions now.
Well, it's not my opinion in that there is another possible explanation for why rates of tooth decay in Dorval went up as much as they did. One community, it was not reported anywhere else, and as a matter of fact, in other communities that ceased water fluoridation, and there are several, have shown that rates of dental caries actually continued to decline. They did not go up. So when my colleague says, if you turn this off, your rates of tooth decay are going to double. Number one, I don't know how he can tell the future. And number two, it seems to be based on an anecdotal observation, which from a scientific perspective is not acceptable. And one other thing that I would like to point out to you is that all of these endorsements from the CDC and everyone else, they have fluoridation on their top 10 list of public health interventions of the 20th century. I believe that, 100 years ago, maybe this was the best science they had available at the time. We're now in the 21st century. And I also find it interesting that rising global incomes did not make the list, because when you look at the graph that my colleague Mark presented, it showed that even in unfluoridated countries, countries that never fluoridated, dental caries rates went down. And as any economist will tell you, it's more likely that it was because of the increasing global interest, or not global interest, global income rates, so that they were able to afford better nutrition. And also because women then were getting more education. And when women get more education, the health outcomes improve. This has been shown all over the place, time and again. And none of them, the CDC, your medical officer, all of the dentists that wrote you letters, none of them will be able to protect you from legal liability come January 1st, 2013, when it is established that the municipalities that decide to fluoridate or not fluoridate will then become legally responsible for the lawsuits related to environmental damage or personal health damage. There are 4 laws, at very least, that are violated by artificial water fluoridation. And the reason why the legislation is on the books, it hasn't been tried because whoever the defendant would be has not been cleared. It's not been made really crystal clear. As of January 1st, 2013, we all get to see who's going to be the first municipality who's going to be sued over artificial water fluoridation. And Health Canada, the CBC, or CDC, World Health Organization, none of them will save you from that legally.
I have another question for Dr. Hyman. Dr. Hyman, why wouldn't we use precautionary principles when regulating water fluoridation as opposed to risk management? There are so many conflicting issues here. Why would we not take the precautionary? We have done that with, we're even doing it today with car seats. Car seats now have expiry dates on them because there may be something that comes along that's better. We're dealing with science that goes back to the 50s and 60s. Why are we not taking the precautionary road and doing this research that needs to be done and then making the decision as opposed to using old science?
Okay. Well, but research continues to be done, and I would be pleased to, and really it's my responsibility to provide the information specifically to the questions which have been asked and the issues with regards to safety. And certainly, if that is not able to be done, then it is absolutely appropriate with regards to the precautionary principle. But from the information that I have looked at is that we are looking at a public health measure which in fact is and continues to be safe. But again, that's my requirement, to be able to provide you with the studies, with the information which you asked for, and the other presenters should have the same responsibility.
One more.
One more question, if I may. And it's a matter of choice. As we have rights and freedoms, and as a matter of choice, and knowing that there are several things questionable about this product and how it's placed in our water and how its effects, and there are again several unknowns. Why would we not have that choice if we've not had that choice since the 60s to make that decision? It's been on again, off again, but we've never been given that choice.
The matter of choice is something that none of us can answer, because that is in fact a council issue with regards to choice. Absolutely, it's my responsibility to provide you with the information to make an informed choice, but it is not. I have no authority to dictate whether or not communities should or should not be fluoridated. Never have. My responsibility is to provide you with the information so that you, in fact, can make an informed choice. That's the best I can say on that.
Which we did 2003.
Okay, just quickly, if I could. Actually, I have here the Fluoridation Act 1990. Dan, if I can just read this quickly. The current Fluoridation Act provides for the establishment or discontinuance of fluoridation in a drinking water system by a municipality. In the case of the town of Tecumseh, council does not have the authority under the act to unilaterally discontinue fluoridation. Right. Just to clarify, he just said that it was under council's direction to use fluoridation, but we can't.
I was talking about councils
Yeah.
in general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that.
Because that's, we're talking about a political issue, is that, as you appropriately specified, is that it's municipal councils who make the choice. I wasn't talking about
Okay.
Tecumseh specifically,
Okay.
but councils in general have the authority. It's not something mandated by the medical officer, no.
Right, thank you.
I could just add some information, that because the Windsor water supply is supplied to more than one municipality, it's a function of all of those councils that have input. There also could be by referendum as well, a decision made whether to fluoridate.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so we're going to get more of that information gathered, and once again, I'd like to reiterate my motion to defer. Call the question?
Defer.
Yeah, to defer the.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to accept that motion, and I believe supported by Councilor Dora. And lots of discussions, but being no further, and then if there's no further discussion allowed under referral, so then I call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the participants here this evening, and looking forward to continued dialogue and more information to come forward.